Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. And this one, it's kind of late though, and I kind of apologize for that one because there was like a lot of things going on last year and everything like that. But for this review, I'm going to be taking a look at Bayonetta 3 for the Nintendo Switch. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage, I'll have a link down in the description down below, or you can click on the card that will appear up on this video. And for parents out there, it's worth pointing out that Bayonetta 3 is rated M for mature audiences only, ages 17 and up by the ESRB rating though. For me though, I always view the Bayonetta series as Platinum's take on the Devil May Cry series that Capcom is well known for, mostly because some of the folks who worked on the Devil May Cry series would come create what would be known as Platinum Games and everything like that though. The first game, however, was published under Sega and everything like that though, and it became sort of a cult, sort of gained a following though, despite the mixed response on how the game performed on the PS3 compared to the 360 and everything like that. But when Bayonetta 2 came out, and that one was announced as a Wii U exclusive, that kind of caught people's attention and kind of gave some criticism about it. However, it was later revealed that Platinum would come up and say that basically that Nintendo was willing to 100% fully fund this game in exchange to make it exclusive to our system, a policy in terms of exclusivity that I would be willing to support though. And eventually though, we would learn about Bayonetta 2 making its way to the Nintendo Switch along with the port of the first Bayonetta game. But during the 2017 Video Game Awards, then Nintendo President of America, Reggie Fils-Aimé, would basically show off a teaser trailer for the announcement of Bayonetta 3. However, following that teaser trailer and all, there would be radio silence about basically that game though, in terms of what's going on with development and so forth though. And when questions begin to start asking though, some folks like Hideki Kamiya basically gave mostly his usual trolling or middle finger response to it, which I don't think kind of helps the situation compared to Nintendo America apparently giving the response saying they've seen the game, it's still in development, and so forth. And it wasn't until around, I believe, 2021 when we finally first saw gameplay footage of basically Bayonetta 3. And I think for a lot of us, it was sort of a long time waiting for that game though. And then of course, let's not forget last year with the whole Helen Keller controversy in terms of bringing up the whole issue of pay and everything like that, and how Jason Schreier broke the story about basically how she was probably offered more than what she claimed it was, although I will admit Hideki Kamiya didn't help the situation either. But putting that all aside, that was sort of the big thing right then. Bayonetta 3 finally came out, and while I will admit though, in terms of some areas that I don't 100% agree with in terms of Bayonetta 3 though, I still think it is an enjoyable game nevertheless, and one definitely worth picking up for your Nintendo Switch, especially if you just, played Bayonetta Origins, or if you're just looking for that Devil May Cry style type of game for your Nintendo Switch. So I'm going to break this down into the pros and cons, and we'll start off first with the pros though. And in terms of on the pro side though, I will say the game continues to maintain that over-the-top gameplay that we have known and love. And that's sort of the thing that Platinum has been well known for in terms of their action games. To be exact though, not every game is spot on from them, but definitely Bayonetta is a resemblance of that that stylish, over-the-top action that we all known and all that stuff though. I mean, if you've played games like Devil May Cry before, you'll feel right at home with Bayonetta in general though. Like Benny, she has different kinds of set moves and so forth, and this time she has different like monsters abilities that she can control certain monsters like at certain times though, which kind of rips out from what we've seen with situations like the canceled Scalebound, although lately there's been rumors of it trending on Twitter and everything like that. But for those who've played the first or second one though, you're going to feel kind of right at home with this, with a couple changes to some of the gameplay mechanics though. But still, it maintains that over-the-top gameplay, which is certainly nice and all. The next thing I do want to talk about is that Bayonetta 3 now gives you now has you basically be able to play as her friend Jeanne, and of course another character, Viola, though, and each has their own little styles and approach to it, though. For Jeanne, though, she tends to play, it's kind of based off the levels I've seen so far, it's sort of a parody of sort of Metal Gear to a certain degree, though, since that's kind of how they were trying to aim for it, though, but in a sort of a 2D style of an approach, and it certainly is very neat, to be exact, though. I mean, it's a fun little break from the 3D action and all, but still very nice to play as Jeanne, or John, if I'm saying her name correctly. And Viola's gameplay is also very close, somewhat close to Bayonetta, only this time hers is more like hers is more with like the long sword and all, and using different abilities. Almost kind of like how, you know how Dante has his ability from Devil May Cry, and so is Neo. Viola, in a way, is almost kind of like Neo to a certain degree, at least in the Bayonetta sense, though. But in either case, though, it's nice that you'll be able to play as Jeanne and even Viola to a certain degree, though. So it's nice that they kind of break up the gameplay a little bit here and there. And last but not least, though, in terms of the frame rate, though, I would say the frame rate has been pretty good based on my time with it on the Nintendo Switch and all. For the most part, I see it kind of hitting the 60 frames per second, though. Some of the times I'll see this slow down here and there, which I'll get to the cons in just a minute. But for the most part, the frame rate has been pretty good. It hasn't ruined my experience or anything like that in terms of me enjoying the game or anything like that. So for the most part, it is, the frame rate, like I said, it's mostly good and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 2, which is the con. So we'll take a little break and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my video review of Bayonetta 3. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we go with the cons? And the cons also have to do with the frame rate. Now, as I mentioned in the pros, though, I did point out that the frame rate was mostly good, and for the most part, it does try to maintain a 60 frames per second, though. However, while that is true to a certain degree, there are times when you could kind of notice it, though. While in some cases it is noticeable during like some of the cutscenes, which isn't as bothersome in any way, though, there are certain times when I have seen where the frame rate does dip. Like, for example, in some cases when you take on, like, you know, the spider creature and everything like that, or, you know, being able to control it in certain areas, the frame rate definitely takes a bit of a dip towards like 30 frames per second. So it's pretty noticeable in some cases. Other times I saw it where there's one scene which looks really neat, though. It's sort of like a recreation of a Godzilla/Kaiju battle, if I'm saying the name correctly, though. And that one, while as impressive as that scene is, though, you could definitely see it take it somewhat of a dip, probably around like the 30 frames per second and all. So yes, the frame rate is far from perfect, though. Again, as I said before, it didn't ruin my experience, but it is pretty noticeable, and that's something I have spotted in Bayonetta 3, though. The next thing I want to talk about is the visuals, though. And I will say, for the visuals for Bayonetta, though, it's kind of a mixed bag. Now, to be clear, though, I don't think the visuals are entirely terrible or anything like that. I think some of the character designs look nice and everything like that. Bayonetta still looks good and everything like that. And some of the boss battles, including against some of the creatures, there are certainly some nice moments, but there are times when the visuals don't exactly look good. Some of this is, it kind of goes to 720p, but there are times it dips a little bit lower, so some of the levels of the areas may not look impressive. Other times it's the enemies, though, the homunculus or the humanoid-like enemies, though, which, while there are some that look neat, though, I just feel they don't have the same kind of level of details the way the angels and the demons did in the past Bayonetta games, to be exact, though. So I will say the visuals in the game are a mixed bag. Again, Not, some parts are terrible, some parts look fine though, but there are spots that look, you could point out that look, yeah, it doesn't look exactly as impressive. One example is sort of like the waterfalls and everything like that. I get it, it's the Nintendo Switch and everything like that, but there have been Switch games that have looked really good, and it's a little bit unfortunate, at least for this one. Again, not hugely terrible, but pretty obvious in some areas though. And last but not least, I do have to talk about the character of Viola though. Basically, for her though, you have the ability not only with the sword, but she's not armed with a gun. Instead, she has basically these cards, and the fact that she has the ability to summon a creature known as Chesta that basically helps her out. Kind of similar to what Bayonetta has, which has the ability to summon and control creatures though. Only difference is that Bayonetta can summon different types of creatures, where Viola only summons like one and all. And this is all fine and everything like that, but there is a little bit of a learning curve I've learned with Viola though, and some of this has to do with her fighting skills and everything like that. Other has to do with her parry ability, and depending on how good you are with it, parrying can be kind of difficult to a certain degree, and you have to time your parry correctly for Viola in order to activate Witch Time to be able to slow down time in the area. This is kind of similar to with Bayonetta, where if you dodge at the right moment though, you could basically get Witch Time to be able to slow down, be able to either outrun or attack enemies at that time though. And unfortunately with Viola, it's a little bit of a learning curve because of her ability to parry and everything like that. So she does have a little bit of a learning curve. I don't think it hinders the gameplay experience or anything like that, but it is, at least from my time with it though, I do think that she does have a little bit of a learning curve and all. Overall, I would say I still enjoyed Bayonetta 3, nevertheless though. I've been a fan since the first one came out though, and I've been enjoying it ever since then, and Bayonetta 3 still maintains a very good game from Platinum though. At its best though, it still maintains that over-the-top gameplay that Bayonetta fans know and love though. The fact that you'd be able to play as Jeanne, if I'm saying her name correctly, is certainly a nice addition to it. I like her approach to her gameplay. It's very interesting indeed, and not to mention Viola as well. And like I mentioned before, the frame rate has been mostly good on Bayonetta 3. But at the same time, at its worst though, there are times when the frame rate will take a dip, and you could pretty much spot it. Pretty much it's pretty obvious though. The visuals of the game are kind of a mixed bag. There are some times when it's like, this looks nice to not exactly great though. It's not the most ugliest Switch game out there, but I won't say it's the prettiest one either though. And of course, I felt with Viola, she did have a bit of a learning curve in terms of her gameplay though. But nevertheless, this hasn't ruined my experience or my enjoyment of the game at all though, and I think it's definitely one I would still recommend for action fans, or for those who are looking, maybe thought Bayonetta Origins was fun and decided want to check out Bayonetta 3 and all, or for those who are looking for a Devil May Cry type of a game though. Bayonetta 3, along with the other entries though, are definitely fun games to play, especially if you're an action fan and everything like that though. I do hope that a Bayonetta 4 does happen, or whatever direction Platinum decides to take Bayonetta 4. And if it does, I would love for Nintendo to fully fund it, whether it's for the Switch or the Switch successor, whatever direction Nintendo goes with their next system though. But I definitely would be down for a Bayonetta 4 and all. But either way, action fans or fans of the first and second Bayonetta game should definitely take a look at Bayonetta 3, and it's definitely a recommendation, at least in my book though. Okay, this concludes my review / thought of, or my review of Bayonetta 3 for the Nintendo Switch. And again, these are my opinions. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Bayonetta 3 though? Do you think Bayonetta 3 is a good action game? Do you think it still maintains that over-the-top style, over-the-top action that Platinum is well known for? Is it better than the first or second Bayonetta games, or are the first and second Bayonetta games better though? Do you hope that a Bayonetta 4 will happen in any way? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Lamps. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!